Trevor Story is having a big season for the Boston Red Sox, but could they lose him for 2026?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's all free. So make sure that you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Welcome to the show. Happy Tuesday. The Red Sox did pull off another good win yesterday against the Guardians by a score of 6-4. Afternoon game on a holiday. Fenway was packed. Good vibes all around. And Brayan Bello didn't exactly have his best start in this game, even though he had been improving in day games as he's slipping back into some old habits. I'm going to be diving into him a little bit later on today's show, as well as the roster expansion, because yesterday was September 1st. So the rosters went from 26 people to 28 people. So I'm going to be going over the moves that the Red Sox did make for the expanded roster. But one player who contributed to the win yesterday was Trevor Story, who went 3 for 4 with a home run in this game, drove in 2 runs. He's now at a 260 average with a 307 on base percentage and 437 slugging. And it was kind of funny because he hit what was one of the funniest home runs you'll probably ever see ever. And he was on a roll this year. He's just been a really good baseball player for this team. And I felt like that was all built up over the last few years. Ever since coming to Boston, he hadn't really had a fully healthy season until this year, with injuries just absolutely plaguing him. And he finally went into this season healthy, went to spring training, and was able to actually get a full spring training for the first time being in a Boston Red Sox uniform. And he's been able to stay healthy all season, which has been a huge key for him. And he expressed some frustration after last year about how he hasn't gotten to show Red Sox Nation really what he's about. And he wanted to be able to show Red Sox fans that they should be excited that he's here in Boston. So there was a lot of built up frustration for him because he was like, injuries have really been detrimental to me. I really want to go out there and show Red Sox Nation what I can do. And he certainly is doing that this year. He's been one of the Red Sox best hitters this season as a whole, and another big game for him in the Red Sox win yesterday. And it was funny because the home run that he hit was probably one of the weirdest home runs you'll ever see in your life. So what happened was essentially when it came down to it with the Trevor Story home run, he was facing right-hander Jacob Junis from the Guardians, and he hit a 306-foot fly down the right field line where Big Christmas, Joan Keski-Noel, tried for a leaping catch. It was heading right towards the pesky pole, so it was questionable whether it was going to be a foul ball or not. So what happened was the ball actually ticked off Noel's glove and then bounced off the pesky pole as Trevor Story stopped at second base thinking it was a ground rule double. And then the umpires gathered to discuss the play because originally they ruled it a foul ball, and then the Red Sox decided to challenge, and Trevor Story in his head, I think, thought that the Red Sox were going to win the challenge, but that it would be called a ground rule double. But instead, it was overturned after the review, and it ended up being a home run, not a ground rule double. And so because of the fact that it bounced off the pesky pole, it made it a fair ball. Had it not done that, and it had fallen out of Noel's glove, but hadn't bounced off the pesky pole, as long as it was in foul territory, the call would have been correct. But it was playable for Noel. And then when he attempted to make the catch, when it ended up bouncing out of his glove and hit the foul pole and then fell to the ground, that essentially meant that the ball was technically in play. So it was an only at Fenway Park solo shot, truly. That would not be a home run, literally, anywhere else. So it was a little bit of luck because it only traveled 306 feet and was the shortest non-inside the Parker in Major League Baseball this season. And it was the highlight of a really productive but disjointed offensive performance for the Red Sox, who did tally 14 hits in the game yesterday, but stranded 12 men and went 4 for 14 with runners in scoring position. So it really wasn't a great day offensively for this team, but they were able to do enough to where they could string together some hits and get the job done. But it was just a really funky home run, and it ended up ultimately leading to the Red Sox getting a big win in this game. So it's just another thing to add to the resume for Trevor Story for this season and the big year that he's been having. But he is in a year in which he has an opt-out clause in his contract that allows him to become a free agent after this season. Now, on one hand, you could argue that maybe he will opt out because he's having such a big season this year for the Boston Red Sox. So he feels like maybe he could go and get more money elsewhere after this season just because of how effective he's been this year. But on the flip side of that, this is his first healthy season and big season for the Boston Red Sox. So it would be a gamble for him to take because a team might look at him and say, look, he had a really good season in Boston, but how do we know that's going to last? Was that just a good season? Because recent history shows that he has struggled and he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So there are two sides to the coin here when it comes to this and what Trevor Story might decide to do. It all really depends on if he feels like he'd be willing to go and take the risk of getting more money elsewhere in the offseason if he opts out. And if he does opt out, that's not to say the Red Sox can't try to bring him back and restructure a contract to be able to pay him more money. But with Marcelo Meyer lingering, who unfortunately is dealing with a season-ending injury right now, he is the shortstop of the future. That is his primary position. But because they have Trevor Story playing shortstop now, he's played more second base and third base this year. But when he comes back, he is ultimately going to be the guy that's going to take over at shortstop long term. So the question then becomes, do the Red Sox feel like it's worth bringing Trevor Story back if they do have Marcelo Meyer? Because then they can just stick him at shortstop next year. And then with second base, they have some options internally that they could go with. Or do they bring back Trevor Story, keep Marcelo Meyer as more of a consistent second baseman, and then see if Christian Campbell at some point shows enough improvement in AAA to the point where the Red Sox would feel comfortable bringing him back up? So there's all those question marks surrounding that, and that also is dependent on Alex Bregman and if he opts out or not. But Trevor Story's decision is looming, and right now he has acknowledged that he loves playing in Boston, and he knows that the financial aspect is a factor, and the decision doesn't get made until the offseason, but it is expected that he will opt into the remaining years of his contract, which has 2 years and $55 million left, a move that will keep him with the Red Sox and also could benefit the team by having him mentor Marcelo Meyer, who's still so young and is still learning how to play the infield at the major league level. So that could be really beneficial to have Story here in that regard to prep Marcelo for a lot of the hardships that come with playing in Major League Baseball. If Trevor Story opts out, it would hurt this Red Sox team, not only because of the offensive productivity that he's shown this year, but also the fact that his defense is a huge key piece to this Red Sox team. He is a former Gold Glover for a reason. Trevor Story is a really good and sound defender, and he's made a lot of beautiful plays in the infield. Not even just this year, even before he got hurt, he was playing really well defensively too for this Boston Red Sox team. And in between times when he was playing after recovering from an injury, he's always been a sound defender, and that could hurt the Red Sox. Luckily, Marcelo Meyer was playing really good infield defense prior to getting hurt. So if Trevor Story does opt out and they decide they're going to use Meyer at shortstop, hopefully he is able to also play an effective infield defense so that the Red Sox don't feel like they're regressing in that regard. But also Trevor Story's mentorship and just the way that he works with the young players is a huge thing for a team with a lot of young talent, and they're trying to mold their team for the future. Having a guy like that around can be super beneficial. And so that's another reason why it would hurt the Red Sox if he opts out, because you lose that veteran presence from him. While the option does provide flexibility for him, it's likely that he'll stay because he knows that Boston's a good place for him to play. He knows that it's an opportunity for him to mentor Meyer, and he would likely need to pass a physical as a free agent, which could be a concern after recent major surgeries that he has had. So he might not want to deal with all of that. And the Red Sox, if he stays, would likely be able to keep him in a leadership role and potentially utilize him as a mentor for younger players, like I mentioned before. And he would be owed $55 million remaining over the next 2 years. So if he opts in, which I'm thinking there's a good chance that he does, he would be around for 2 more years. And then the Red Sox opportunity at shortstop for Marcelo Meyer would then arise. This season, he's been phenomenal. He's played in 133 games and is slashing .258 with a .305 on base percentage and .432 slugging, with 22 home runs, 84 RBIs, 24 stolen bases, 23 doubles, and 77 runs scored, all while playing elite defense at shortstop. He's played so well that the contract situation for him and being able to utilize the opt-out, he could make a big payday. And the club option for the 2028 season also exists. So if he opts in for the next 2 years, that means he'd be here through 2027. Then the Red Sox could decide in 2028 if they want to bring him back for that season. And at that point, Marcelo Meyer might be up and running at shortstop, so they might not feel like they need him, but it's definitely an option. And if he were to opt out, it just might not necessarily be the best financial decision for him because of all the injuries that he has dealt with. And that could impact his ability to make a lot of money and get a big payday. So what seemingly is the right choice for him also seems like the best thing for the Red Sox is for him to opt in, stay involved as a leadership presence with the Red Sox, be a mentor to the younger players, and ensure that they are getting and learning as much as they need. And then after this next couple years is up, then maybe he looks into other opportunities. But all signs are pointing to him opting in, which is really beneficial for Boston. If he opts out, it would really feel like they're losing a key part of this team. And because of how he's playing this year, it would be great to see him stay and continue that next season. So we'll have to see what decision he makes. Likely he's going to opt in. At least that's what we hope. And coming up, Brayan Bello had a little bit of a rocky start yesterday. Is he getting back on his grind of not pitching well in day games? That's going to be discussed. If you're looking for a fun way to make daily picks, PrizePicks 100% is for you, because being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing PrizePicks a lot lately, and it's such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. The best part is that even if one of your picks misses, PrizePicks invented the flex play, so you can still double your money. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Who doesn't love being right, and who doesn't love making money? So make sure that you take advantage of that. And another great way you can make money is through FanDuel. With the NFL season kicking off this week, this is the great opportunity for you to be ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It really makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. this could significantly change your life. I've seen it happen for my husband, who's made so much money on sports betting on FanDuel. So make sure you download the app today. There's no better sports betting outlet than FanDuel. The Red Sox won yesterday 6-4 in a game that they absolutely had to grind out against the Cleveland Guardians. And things were a little worrisome for the Red Sox because they lost the first 2 games of the series over the weekend against the Pirates, and that was 5 straight losses at home for a Red Sox team that plays so well at home. They are 43-27 at Fenway. So obviously they feel pretty comfortable playing there, but they hit a bit of a lull with 5 straight home losses. That was broken after they won the last game of the series against the Pirates and avoided getting swept. And then they won again yesterday, this time being against Cleveland in the first of a 3-game series. But it was not an easy win. It was a win that the Red Sox absolutely had to grind out to get. They had 14 hits in this game, but they did leave 6 on base, and they also went 4 for 14 with runners in scoring position. So in the first half of the game, 6 left on base. And then you look at the second half of the game, another 6 left on base. So 12 runners total left on base. So in terms of situational hitting, it still wasn't really happening to the extent that it could have. The Red Sox had the bases loaded at one point and couldn't get a run across. Earlier in that inning, they had scored 2 runs thanks to Carlos Narvaez on a big pinch hit to drive in 2 runs. But they had the bases loaded after that and couldn't really capitalize. So it was a little bit of a scattered game offensively, but Brayan Bello was on the mound and didn't exactly have his best start of the season. In this game, he threw 5 innings, giving up 6 hits and 3 earned runs with 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. He threw 100 pitches on the dot with 65 of those going for strikes. He now has a 3.07 ERA. And with how good Bello has been this year, he's due to have a bad start here and there. Everybody's human. Nobody has a perfect day at work every single day, and this just happened to be an off day for him. Alex Cora did give him some credit after the game and said that the Brayan Bello prior to this season probably doesn't get through the 3rd inning after an outing like that because he kind of collapsed in the early innings and gave up 3 runs in 1 inning. So Alex Cora was basically saying the older version of Bello isn't able to get out of that. But the fact that he still did and limited the damage and was able to get the Red Sox 5 innings, that alone was a win in itself, but definitely not the best start that he has had this season. And it's an interesting concept because it goes back to a previous pattern we've seen from Brayan Bello of struggling during day games. He used to significantly pitch better at night. In his first full MLB season in 2023, he had a 6.94 ERA in 10 day games compared to a 3.06 ERA in night games, showing a very clear disparity between the two. And a lot of times if a player struggles in day games, it's because of a lack of routine. Difficulty in day games stems sometimes from a lack of being able to prepare the same way you would for night games because there's just less time. So that definitely could have been a factor. And the difference was so pronounced that some people joked that he maybe just doesn't like the sun, with opponents hitting 319 against him during the day compared to just 223 at night in 2023. But since then, he has turned things around. This year in 2025, he became significantly better during the day, recording a stellar 2.88 ERA in day games versus a 3.45 ERA at night. So he's actually been better in day games this season than in night games overall. And he actually alluded that to having 2 young kids at home because having 2 young children has forced him to adopt an earlier schedule and adjust his pregame routine for daytime starts. So he's starting to warm up earlier, which has helped him to actually get his full preparation in. And Alex Cora also noted that having kids meant waking up earlier and adjusting the entire pregame process, which directly led to better performance in day games. So he's been a lot more effective pitcher in day starts due to his new routine as a father, which has been really beneficial for this Red Sox team. But this game yesterday kind of looked like he went back into his old habits of struggling again during the day. 3 free passes on walks, and Brayan Bello does go through outings sometimes where he struggles with his command. And this was definitely one of those outings where he was kind of getting hit. His command wasn't really there, and the Guardians were kind of walking all over him in that outing. He had to absolutely grind through 5 innings, and by no means was it easy. He slowly has improved in day games over time, because 6.94 ERA in 10 day games in 2023. And then in 2024, he was slightly better with a 4.09 ERA in 9 day game starts. And then he had 21 outings at night with a 4.67 ERA. So last season, we were already starting to see the difference in him showing improvement during his daytime starts. And then obviously that led to this year, 3.45 ERA in 60 innings at night, but 2.88 ERA in 50 day innings. And that doesn't even count his relief outing of 5 strong innings against the Reds in a suspended game on July 1st. So if you incorporate that in there as well, it would also make those numbers look even better. So he having to be up early does make a difference, and it kind of does confirm that the routine thing was the biggest issue he was running into with daytime starts, because he wasn't able to get himself up and at it in time to prepare fully for a daytime start. But when he debuted in the majors as a 23-year-old in July 2022, things looked a lot different. And now he and his wife have welcomed a daughter, Brianna, born in July 2023, and a son, Brayan Jr., born last August. So it's forced him to be more consistent with a morning routine, and it has allowed him to grow a lot more. But am I concerned about his daytime start yesterday? No. He has shown enough this season to where he can still be dominant in daytime starts, to the point where this was just an off day for him. Every pitcher has days where they're not their best. Garrett Crochet, for example, in his start against the Orioles wasn't exactly super sharp. The Red Sox still found a way to win that game, but it wasn't a typical Garrett Crochet start that we're used to seeing. And that does happen. And if you would ask me this last year or the year before, I would be a lot more concerned, because Brayan Bello has had a lot of instances in which he has struggled. And if he struggles, it's been hard for him to bounce back from that. And it has led to a lot of frustration for him and for the organization in the past, of him struggling and not being able to bounce back from that. Whereas now in 2025, most of his starts have been very strong. And even in outings in which he hasn't had a super strong start, he's been able to bounce back from that pretty seamlessly. So past history from this season shows that if he can go and bounce back from this start in his next outing, then this is just water under the bridge. The biggest thing is going to be, is he going to hit a lull right now in which he continues to struggle in that way, or was this just a one-time thing? Because he has truly pitched his way overall this season to a strong number 2 starting pitcher. And if he keeps that up, he will definitely be somebody who's probably looked at and relied on to be the number 2 starter next season. But if he lets this outing from yesterday impact him too heavily and he's too harsh on himself about it, then he might get into his head. And the problem with that is that it could escalate and trickle down into his next outing and beyond. So the biggest thing that I am looking at now moving forward with Bello is how he responds from this outing. And again, it wasn't a terrible outing. It's not like he got shelled. He limited the damage and only gave up 3 runs, but he was not overly sharp. Giving up 6 hits over 5 innings is not ideal, but it will be the way that he responds to it that'll show what matters. Because again, every starter has days where they have a bad outing, But the most important thing is being able to bounce back from that and show resilience. And that's what I feel confident in with Brayan Bello, that he will bounce back and it will be fine. The Red Sox were still able to win the game. The offense actually took care of business, which was something they really needed to do. And given the fact that the Red Sox offense has struggled a lot as of late, it was a bit of a concern when they went down 3-2 early against this Guardians team because they've struggled to score 3 or more runs a lot lately. So the fact that they were able to still put up 6 runs in this game and back up Brayan Bello a little bit was good. He will bounce back. I am not concerned. It was just a tough outing for him. Didn't exactly have his command all there, and his off-speed stuff wasn't necessarily working as best as it always does. But again, it happens. Not the best start for him, but he was still able to get through 5 innings. So that was a win. And now we are into September, which is crazy. And coming up, September means expanded rosters. So I'm going to be talking about what the Red Sox did to expand their roster. Hey, Locked On Red Sox fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. That's definitely not something you'll want to miss out on. And while you're doing that, I also have an important request for you. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thank you for helping us out. This will be super helpful because it'll really help us to make your experience better with listening to our podcast. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can see the QR code on the bottom. So make sure you scan that. If not, check it out on our website and take the survey. The Red Sox are overall playing good baseball right now. They had a rough series against the Pirates at home over the weekend, which was incredibly disappointing. That's the type of team you really need to sweep. But the Red Sox were able to salvage the last game of that series, which then led to their second straight win in yesterday's game against the Cleveland Guardians, winning 6-4. Crochet scheduled to pitch today, so hopefully that means the Red Sox can go and collect another win and tally up another series win would be ideal. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But yesterday was September 1st, which means playoff rosters get expanded. So the 26-man roster goes from 26 people to 28 people. So that leaves 2 rooms for teams to be able to make 2 moves. So the Red Sox made those 2 moves. They called up right-hander ZacK Kelly, who was already on the 40-man roster, so they didn't need to open up a 40-man spot for him, and catcher Ali Sánchez. Ali Sánchez had signed a minor league deal with the Mets just over a week ago, but the Red Sox did trade for him on Sunday night. The Mets received cash in the deal, so they were able to execute a trade to get him back. They didn't use him at all, really. Last time they had him, he came in one time to pinch it, but didn't really start a game behind the plate. But I'm sure there'll be more opportunities for that. Now, the Red Sox opened up a 40-man spot for him by moving infielder Marcelo Meyer to the 60-day injured list. So the Red Sox ultimately are now going to be fielding a third catcher on their roster. And at first, when you hear this, it might be a bit confusing to know that the Red Sox and Mets swung a trade after the trade deadline. but certain trades are still allowed. Basically, a player on a minor league contract, which has not been selected to the majors, can be traded. So that's true even if the player was in the majors earlier in the season via a different contract. For example, last year, Kevin Biggio played for the Dodgers, and after being DFA'd and released, he signed a minor league deal with the Giants, and after the trade deadline, he was traded from the Giants to Atlanta. So he was able to be traded because the deal he was on with the Giants was a minor league deal and he hadn't been called up. And the situation is basically the same here with Sánchez, who has played for the Blue Jays and Red Sox in 2025. The Red Sox DFA'd him a couple weeks back. He ended up clearing outright waivers, elected free agency, and signed with the Mets. And since this Mets deal hadn't been selected to the majors, he was eligible to be traded back to Boston. So by being acquired prior to September, he's eligible to be on the postseason roster. So the Red Sox seem really into this 3-catcher setup for the final month, with him joining Carlos Narvaez and Connor Wong. They probably want to ease the workload of Narvaez and Wong a little bit down the stretch here in the last month, so that they'll both be healthy and ready to go for the postseason, which is why they feel like it's a little bit beneficial to have a third catcher on the team. He has a fairly limited major league track record. He's appeared in 4 big league seasons, but with just 47 total games played. In those games, he has a 185 average with a 222 on base percentage and 235 slash line. But he is generally regarded as a strong fielder, and his offensive numbers have been better in a larger sample of minor league playing time. From 2022 to the present, he has stepped to the plate 943 times at the AAA level with a 272 average, 348 on base percentage, and 418 slugging, which translates to a 96 WRC plus, which is 4% below league average, but is decent for a catcher, especially a backup catcher. So obviously it's hard to know if the offensive numbers are going to translate to the Red Sox major league team, because a lot of the good numbers at the plate are from AAA, but he does provide some defensive value. And again, he'll be a third string catcher that'll be there to help ease some of the workload of the other two. Connor Wong is slashing just 189 with a 253 on base percentage and 231 slugging on the season. So there could be a scenario in which Sánchez plays himself into the number 2 slot behind Narvaez based on how he does, and does end up cracking the postseason roster. But for now, he'll give the team a bit more cover for a potential injury in case one of the catchers were to get hurt, but also giving the team some more flexibility when it comes to in-game roster moves. He is out of options, so he can't go back to AAA, but he has just over a year of service time and can therefore be retained beyond this season if he's holding a roster spot at season's end. So it creates a lot of flexibility for the Red Sox when it comes to this catching situation. And when they DFA'd him prior, it's because there wasn't really a spot for him at the time and they wanted to make room for other players. But now that they were able to add a couple players to their roster, they were able to acquire him again for cash, and now they'll field 3 catchers on the roster, at least for now. And Sánchez could end up making the postseason roster if the Red Sox decide they want to do that. So right now is a very wait and see with him, see how he performs, and if he impresses the Red Sox, then he could take Connor Wong's spot as the number 2 catcher. But we'll see how things go, because Connor Wong had been hitting a little bit better as of late, especially on the road trip against the Yankees and Orioles. He put together some strong hits. So we'll see if that continues. Carlos Narvaez, obviously, with a big hit yesterday to give the Red Sox a lead that they would not relinquish, and they ended up winning. Just got to keep winning games now. September is a big month. They are so close in the standings with the Blue Jays and the Yankees, so they've got to keep their feet on the gas. They've got to take advantage against far less superior teams, and they also have to just continue to focus on winning series, and that will get them into the playoffs. So we'll have to see how that goes, but thank you for tuning in to Locked On Red Sox and always making it your first listen of every single day. It's another big moment here on Locked On as well. If you're a college football fan, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. So you won't want to miss that. Make sure you check it out next. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.